Limited visibility. In this module, you will learn what is intended by the term limited visibility and what factors influence visibility. You will find out what equipment you need for these dives. You will learn to communicate in low visibility. You will find out what a guideline is and what procedures to follow in the case of separation from your buddy. Diving in limited visibility. Sometimes you may need to dive in conditions when the visibility is not very good. You may encounter conditions when the visibility is temporarily reduced due to natural occurrences or human error, such as the incorrect use of fins. These dives sometimes take place when searching for artifacts in a particular environment. Also, in many parts of the world, the visibility is not reduced by suspended sediment, but is caused by the presence of thick clouds of plankton made up of minute forms of life drifting in the water. For your convenience, in this video, the conditions of limited visibility will only be simulated. Otherwise, we will see the video like this. Visibility. It is essential to give a precise meaning to the term limited visibility. PSS considers this to be water conditions where it is not possible to see another diver at a distance of 3 meters, 10 feet, but who must, however, be visible at a distance of at least a meter, 3 feet. Diving in very poor or zero visibility is an activity for the experts, who have serious reasons for diving in such conditions. During the descent, the visibility may improve or get worse. If in the first few meters, feet, the water is very cloudy but the visibility at depth is good, the dive should be considered as a night dive due to the high absorption of sunlight in the surface layer. Visibility also varies with the weather and sea conditions. It gets worse where waves begin to break. Visibility is also connected to the tides. It is usually better at high tide when clean water comes from out at sea, but this might not always be the case. However, visibility is always worse near river estuaries. When fresh water from a spring lies on top of salt water, a layer called halocline forms between the two, similar to the thermocline that occurs between the layer of cold and warmer water. The visibility usually changes as you pass through the halocline layer. Risks and equipment. The risks regarding diving in limited visibility are due, above all, to the lack of visual references. In these conditions, it is easier to become separated from your buddy or group, and it is more difficult to navigate. If the visibility is poor, it is necessary to use a guideline laid out on the bottom, while you can use a buddy line to prevent becoming separated from your buddy. An extremely important safety precaution is that of always staying outside passages and other closed environments, caves and wrecks. As for night dives, a good dive computer with all the sound alarms set is an essential item. If it has a backlit display, it will be easier to read in poor visibility. A position-finding device is particularly helpful for finding your way back to the ascent line. A strobe light, for example, can be used for this purpose. A powerful dive light, 50 watts, is useful for signaling, but certainly not for seeing. If it has a wide beam, it will illuminate all the particles suspended in the water between you and what you are looking at, producing an annoying fog effect. A less powerful dive light is more suitable, also because it will not illuminate all the suspended particles. In order to see better, you should hold the light to the side of the subject, so you reduce the effect of reflection caused by the suspension in the water. The difference is the same as that between a full or crescent moon. It is very important in these conditions that the buddy pair stays very close together. It is often advisable to use a buddy line, less than 2 meters, 80 inches long, with 2 loops at the end that can be held in the hand. A buddy line must not be tied to your body or your equipment. This line is also useful for communicating using a system of pulls, which is very simple but effective. 1 pull means OK. 2 pulls, go. 3, stop. 4, turn back, let's go up. 5 or more in rapid succession, emergency. The same system can also be used with sound signals, made for example by banging on the cylinder with a metal object, such as a knife or a carabiner hook. A reel is also useful for laying out and winding up the guideline. The dive. As for any dive with restrictive safety procedures, it is essential to have a detailed briefing. As well as forming the buddy pairs, the instructor will establish the position of each pair as they follow behind the guide. There will usually be 2 guides, one leading the group, the other closing. Remember to look in front of you, but also behind. The instructor cannot check everybody, so it is the task of each buddy pair to maintain visual contact with the pair behind in order to prevent the group from becoming separated. You must keep close as you descend and stay in the order that your instructor gave you. If someone has difficulty compensating during the descent, the entire group must stop. Because the buddy pair in front of the diver in difficulty can no longer see the pair behind, they will also stop. In this way, the stop is passed on along the chain to the guide leading the group. As you descend, you should let the descent line run between the ring formed by your thumb and index finger. But you should never lose contact with the line. On the bottom, you will also use a guideline that is laid out using a reel. One of the buddy pair must swim while maintaining contact with the guideline, always letting it run through the ring formed with your thumb and index finger, while the other diver in the buddy pair will be connected to their diver with the buddy line. When you want to turn back, all the divers must hold onto the guideline, and only at this point can the 2 buddies change roles. The return leg will be made in reverse order. The guide who closed the group will become the leader, and the buddy pairs will now go in the opposite direction, without ever letting go of the guideline. In this way, the guide who was the leader on the outward leg is now last and can wind the line onto the reel. The first thing to do in case of problems is to signal the emergency to your buddy using the pull system, 5 quick pulls, and if possible, signal to the entire group using loud sound signals. In case you get separated from your buddy or lose contact with the guideline, immediately signal an emergency. The diver still in contact with the guideline will help by turning around and covering the dive light intermittently, like a lighthouse. The divers on the guideline must not move from their position. It is the separated diver who must make their way back to the group. If the search is not successful within the pre-established time, you should return to the surface, ascending at a controlled rate. Instead, if everyone follows the instructions, you will get back to the ascent line with no problem and complete the dive according to the standard procedures. Happy diving!